Struggling. Hi everybody, welcome to today's project. Just a quick one today. If any of you guys are X-Maxx owners out there, you may have run into this if you're big into jumping your RC. This is the factory motor heat sink and half of the shroud. So I've been breaking the X-Maxx motor fans from jumping. I have read some stuff online that you can do some shimming to help with that, but I think I'm just going to try to get rid of the entire factory system in a way, because you have to replace this thing to get the fans. The fans are just as much as a shroud, so you can buy this whole shroud. I think it's like 45 bucks on Amazon, which to me is a bit crazy. So I got some of these racing fans. We'll see how they do. There's the info if you can see it. Now these are a little 30 by 30 millimeter fan. The X-Maxx fans are 35, so they are a tiny bit smaller, but putting it on there, you can see that it fits pretty good. So what I've gone ahead and done is I cut the top of the shroud off. I used a cutoff wheel, or AKA the death wheel. I cut it off, and then I had I have a belt sander, like a stationary one, and I just pushed it against the belt to get it nice and flat. And I came back and just did a little bit of trimming with the razor blade. Probably don't have to be that particular, but I just, you know, more airflow. So my thought here is I'm going to mount this fan up underneath the shroud. And I'm going to 3D print a new top for this, just a flat top with some kind of, you know, integrated shroud in there so stuff doesn't get in there, and just glue it on, and then just use like the M3s to bolt it onto that new 3D print. You know, I might even just leave this open too, because that'd be more airflow. I might get risk of getting stuff in there too, but I don't know, we'll see. So alright, I'll jump into CAD, we'll get some stuff drawn up and printed, and then we'll get back at you as soon as we go to assemble it. Alright, so I did a little bit more trimming. I just cut these little tabs out, and here's the finished part off the printer. I decided not to do any kind of screen. Now what I could do is print this exact same thing again, take a piece of window screen, put it in here, and then clamp the two together. You know, then the bolts and everything are holding it with the fan. I might do that when because I do have a trip going up north, and we have a bunch of sand and rocks up there, but where I'm currently at, I'm not going to worry about it, but I probably will print another one of these and sandwich that, and we can also test that out and see how it does. So this is kind of the idea. Just trying to line up wires and stuff. And I want these fans blowing down. I did print it for 4 screws, but I think I'm only going to run just 2. Now, if you guys are going to do this same mod, you're probably going to have to get your own screws, an M3 kit. I didn't measure how long these were. I can always add that though, like a kit in the description showing you what kit I use that has these just random screws if you need some. They come in handy. Somehow always manage to forget something. Now it probably wouldn't hurt, honestly, to put some Loctite on these two. Being that X-Maxx is pretty rough. Okay, I think I'm gonna use some acetone to clean this up first before we glue it. Just gonna use some super glue. Usually here's really good to this. We'll see about that. Might have to make some kind of new design if it pops off or something that has a, I don't know, some kind of mount that maybe comes down on the sides or comes down here. I don't know. I don't really want to print the whole shroud again. I just wanted this to be a quick project. Maybe worst comes to worst, I can add a zip tie mount and we'll go around the whole heat shrink and around and then clamp it that way. We'll see how it does though with just the glue. I'll be right back. Okay, went and found some just regular old acetone, giant sized. Now you should wear gloves when doing this. You guys take your own safety is what you should be doing. I'm just using a very tiny little bit. Don't need a lot because you'll end up melting this plastic pretty quickly. Another nice thing this will do is help smooth the plastic from the belt marks from the belt sander. I'm using a PTEG on this, so it's really not acetone approved. It melts PTEG pretty quickly, but I just want to make sure we have a good clean surface before we glue this. Nice thing about PTEG versus like a PLA, I mean, it's got a lot more flex into it. So I'm hoping that will help it out. Just using a regular old Loctite super glue. Obviously not sponsored. We'll see how this works. I'm not even sure if this is going to stick to this type of plastic. I'm not sure what it is. I do know it bonds very well with PTEG. Now I want to make sure I get the wires in there correctly so they sit into these old wire cavities just like the factory ones did. Yeah, and I haven't really seen too many of these mods. The only one I've seen was they printed an entire shroud and put like a 60mm, I don't know, server fan or just regular computer fan on top of it. But I don't know. These factory fans, like, I just keep blowing the blades off of them, and like, I mean, this one just was broke. It come out in pieces. This other one has the missing blade, but so my understanding, and I didn't really look myself, to be honest. I just wasn't going to pay that much money again for one of these things. But there's play in here, and what happens is the blade catches the heat sink and just breaks the blade off. Not perfectly straight there, so that's what I'm kind of worried about. See if it's going to actually have enough surface area here on there or not. Let me go grab one of my clamps and I'll clamp this down. So I'm going to let this set up for a little while, and then we'll come back and install it. I also think I'm just going to add some regular standard computer thermal paste on the inside of this. Give this a good cleaning. See if that helps with temps a little bit, just some better thermal transfer. So probably do this video and maybe a follow-up video, a quick follow-up on see if I can get the temps, but unfortunately I don't know what they're averagely running. I never really tested it, so I don't really have a baseline to go off of, but I don't know. Either way, we can see that if you guys have tested yours, you can always compare and see if it's worth doing versus these little fans, or if it's just better buying the shroud again. So yeah, I'll get back with you in a few. All right, so it's a couple hours later. I went ahead and printed another one of these exact same pieces. I actually had some window screen laying around, a big roll of it actually, so I just cut off a small chunk. So go ahead and unclamp this guy. That seems pretty on there. So I'm actually going to remove those, put the screen in. There we go. And just put it on there like that. And I think that's going to work out pretty good. So let's take this back apart. Found some M3 locking nuts. So like I said, you should probably use Loctite if you don't have any locking nuts, but I ended up finding a box of those. So let's grab some longer M3s, maybe something like so. I want the fan blowing down, so it's always against the back side of the motor. I could have also printed this with an insert for the nut, but there's such little room there, and I didn't really want to add any more thickness to the, hole in the fan. I'm trying to keep it much airflow as absolutely possible in there. Yeah, we're gonna have plenty of room for the nylon it's already catching. Alright, and I'm just going to take a little hobbyist knife here and we're just going to trim this around. And this is just basic window screen, so you can get this at any, generally big box hardware store for screen repairs. It generally comes in a roll. So, or I guess if you need to repair one of your screen windows in your house, fix your screen window and use this. Alright, so let's get this wiring situation figured out. I think these leads are going to be too long. So I end up cutting this hole in the side here bigger so I can get the wire out, or the shroud out from the truck anyway. It's probably going to be a little messier, but I think I'm just going to run both the wires through that new hole, and then we'll plug into the Y harness that the old fans used to plug into. So that fits on there perfectly. I don't know if you can see in there. Can the camera see? I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, you can a little bit. Seems to be a little bit more air gap in there for that fan, so I'm hoping that helps fan move a little bit more air around it too. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and screw the heatsink back in, and I am going to use my drill for that with a clutch setting. Just like that. So I did wipe this down and clean it. I also did the same thing with the motor. What I'm going to do is just take some thermal compound, just get a bunch in there. Not really a bunch because I don't really have a bunch. This is pretty much out, but that'll kind of self-level itself. Wish I had a little bit more, but it is what it is. a little better here. Alright, so you can see motor fairly clean. You won't be able to see much of this, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to first plug in the Y harnesses. And just before we do anything, let's just make sure it works. Good amount of airflow coming out of that. That feels much better than stock, to be honest. What is that, stick? Oh, that's the it's the temperature sensor. Don't forget that. She got some Captain tape. They just taped that sensor back in there. Oh no, it goes on this way. Struggling. That's another thing. I try to use as little as this Captain tape possible, because I don't want it to take away from all the cooling effects that we are trying to get out of this. Doesn't seem like it's sitting right. Something might be just the shape of that shells, or maybe it slid up a little bit. The shroud slid up a little bit when it got screwed back on. That's okay. Not too worried about that. So just gonna try to tuck these wires down in here. All right. So I think that's it. As far as the X-Maxx go, it's pretty much stock. It has RPM arms on it. I do have the RPM carriers in the back wheel hubs with the bigger bearings. Hot racing, hardened steel pinion, hardened steel pinion and spur gear, but they're both on stock gear ratios, so nothing upgraded. I'm running SMC battery, 6500 75Cs, and I don't remember who makes those aluminum plates in the bottom for the strap mounts, but I use those so I can run the bigger batteries. Stock servo and everything else, I literally haven't done anything else to the truck, but let's get the body back on this and give it a test. 75 as an ambient. It's about 73, 74 out today. Alright, it's probably pretty decent. Should have at least warmed it up a little bit. Driving with one hand. Set you back up real quick. We got 93. It seems to be working pretty good. Definitely don't feel loose. Seems to be keeping the crap out of it. Alright, well, I guess that's the end of this one. I will post everything I used in the link description. Thanks for hanging out with me in the garage today. You guys have a good one.